Hello everybody, welcome back to another reading. Today we are doing a requested reading on Jaleayah Davis, who passed away November 19th, 2011. Maybe officially November 20th because this all happened during the night. She was a 20-year-old woman who went to her friend's place around 5 p.m. that day, regularly contacted her mother and sister via texting. And the first thing they heard, like in call-wise, was around 3:30 that morning. She called and asked Taubi, her sister, if she could come pick her up at a gas station or some type of rest stop. There was arguing heard in the background. I believe there were two calls at least. During one of those calls, there was arguing heard in the background where Jaleayah was asking a friend, Kirsten, to give her keys back. This may have been caused due to the fact that there had been drinking going on, because they found that her blood level was pretty high, her alcohol blood level afterwards. So maybe somebody was trying to prevent her from driving off. We don't know. Either way, during one of the calls, Taubi asked her sister what's going on, and Jaleayah just said, "I'll tell you later." But later never happened. So around 3:40, there was a call made, I believe by a trucker or somebody who passed by, saying that there had been a wreck on the road, and they thought that there was a bunch of people there and that there was some type of situation going on. But in any case, they were outside the car, and the car was up against the guardrail, and they wouldn't go outside to look because it was cold and dark and they couldn't really see what was happening. That was one of the first calls that was made, and other people that called and also pulled over to see what was going on were talking about how there was now a single person there, and there was a lot of damage to the person. The car was like smashed up along the side, but not in a very great way. Like, there was quite a bit of damage of the car, obviously hitting the guardrail. If you see the pictures, there's definitely a lot of scraping going on over there, and the passenger side window had been knocked out and that type of thing. But if you look at the damage done to Jaleayah's body, her head was lobbed off, one of her breasts was also removed, and one of her legs was seriously broken. It was very substantial damage done to the body. She was suspected of going pretty fast at the point where this crash happened, or at least the car was expected of going pretty fast. The car was still running and the lights were still on as well by the time that they came to the scene. She was naked from the waist up, and all the clothes that she had worn on the top had been hung from one of the guard posts, one of the mile posts. And people found that very suspicious, obviously, because how would that happen if you get thrown out of a car? Your clothes don't end up on like a nice pile somewhere on a guard post. Maybe somebody who was first on the scene decided to gather things up. I don't know if that was the case. They never actually explained themselves. Or maybe somebody else stopped by before anybody else could call and did that. Who knows? Because it's a really graphic scene. If you go look up the images, I would warn you that there's a lot of blood everywhere. It's a really bad looking scene, and I can totally imagine somebody pulling up thinking that there's just an issue with somebody's car and seeing all this and not even really being aware of what's going on, and then just going, "Oh wow, this is much more than I thought I could handle," and then just leaving in a blind panic, because you never know what you're going to do when you're confronted with somebody. I mean, they probably found a headless body with a head split open somewhere else, so that is really something that most people are not able to handle on an average day. So anything could have happened, but it was very strange indeed that her clothes were piled up there, and that she was even naked from the waist up in the first place, and that there was almost no damage to the car that would point towards somebody having been bloodied in the car. Like, if you were thrown out the window and lots of stuff is happening to your body, you're going to leave some blood behind. That's the idea, basically. So that didn't appear to be the case. So that's all very unusual. So I thought we would look at that with the tarot today to see what's going on, if we can find out anything about the event, what led up to it, anything at all. We're going to use the Modern Witch Tarot, which is currently on the table, which is this one. And for further questions, we'll move on to the Urban Tarot deck, which is this one with the more modern imagery, as you can see. So that's what we're going to do. I'm just going to start shuffling the cards. So whatever cards fall out, I'll put on the table. Once we have enough to look at, we'll stop and take a look. So without much further ado, let's get started. Okay, let's take a look. First thing that I noticed that there is a lot of pentacle energy. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 pentacle cards just in this 7 night as well. So that's a lot of pentacles, and as I'm shuffling these cards and getting them from the deck, the one main theme that I keep coming back to is a lot of bad decisions. So we have a hermit here who appears to be about to close a laptop, like they're about to go somewhere. They also have like a tentative foot stuck to the right because we've got more pentacles here. Let me just grab these for quick. So we've got the hermit here, like I said. They look like they're about to leave. This looks like almost coming out of their shell. Almost like that. This seems like the start of the story. Like she really is about to turn that laptop off, at least close it off. She's almost waving goodbye to it and looking pensive, but her foot is already halfway out the door, so to speak. Just leaving this life behind for now. And then we have the Page of Pentacles with the Ace of Pentacles next to each other. Now the Page of Pentacles normally fairly adolescent energy, I want to say, and in reverse I would say this is a bad idea, bad decision, but they thought there was going to be something new coming from it, because that is what the Ace of Pentacles normally points towards, like new initiatives, new ideas, new stuff in the ways of gaining finances, resources, perhaps also gaining friends, that type of thing, like hanging out with new people maybe because of the Page as well. That they were like planning on or thinking that it was going to be a great night, and that made them make less than ideal decisions, which is also reflected by the Four of Pentacles right next to it, and followed by the Queen of Wands. And let me grab these two first before we get to the Five of Wands, because we're seeing more mismanagement with the Four of Pentacles, like I said, but there's also this Queen of Wands, which to me seems like somebody who is very strong-willed. So it seems like there were a lot of bad decisions made, and mostly because they probably did know better, but they were just really stubborn. Like they had this idea, they wanted to go out and do stuff. I'm looking at the lions in the background as well on the back of the throne there, looking at the sun, like they were just out there looking to have a good time. So, and the black cat over here is often like pointing towards mysticism, that type of thing, intuition maybe, but I'm also kind of drawn towards the superstition of black cats being bad luck. So I think with this lineup over here, it's like just a lot of things lined up to cause bad luck for this Queen of Wands, who was very stubbornly wanting to do whatever it is that they felt like it's, even though perhaps those weren't the best decisions to make. Five of Wands and Six of Pentacles follow those. Five of Wands is normally like almost like a friendly competition type of thing, maybe just messing around with people. Now I feel like since it is in reverse, I think it may have started as a joke. Maybe some conflict may have started as a joke between the bunch that were like gathered together. I mean, there's drink involved, there's people wanting to have a good time and stuff like that. It may have led to just confrontations, the type of confrontations that you have fueled by alcohol, basically. So something that's basically no reason at all to fight may have become the biggest issue in the world ever. You could also see here with the Six of Pentacles, we're not actually doing anybody any charity. We're like working against each other almost actively. They're not giving each other any presents in this case. People were not doing each other any favors right now. Maybe they thought that they were doing each other favors. Like maybe there was one person who was like trying to be the more responsible one, or felt like they could solve this issue by doing something that the others did not agree with. In any case, there was some trouble there. And they may have been right, because we see here the Two of Pentacles and Strength in reverse. And this seems to me almost like they were making bad decisions already, and they didn't have the strength to see that, because the Two of Pentacles is almost like balancing it out, sometimes a little bit too much, like you're trying to be too wise with your money in the sense that you limit yourself, but it's also in this case reversed, and that means that whatever decisions they were making were not good. And as you see, the Strength is also in reversed, and that is a lack of strength of character in this case. And I think since it's followed by the Wheel of Fortune over here, that it's almost like they felt like they were perfectly capable of doing things, and then they end up not being as they thought it would be. Wheel of Fortune is sometimes a positive card, but can also mean we're going to do something a little differently than what you're used to. We see here the Knight of Wands as well. And the Knight of Pentacles in reverse. Okay. I don't think we're in the car yet at this point, because I'm looking at this because at the end here we see the Hierophant. That's usually somebody who's going to come up from top down, tell you to do this, that, or the other thing. And they were also not in a very charitable mood. Like, this is the confrontation still. Things went differently than she would normally expect them to go. We have the Knight of Wands here, also in reverse, which is like, I'm tired of struggling. But it was like, she is not going to give up. Even though the tides are turning here with the Wheel of Change, or Wheel of Fortune, sorry. We have this Knight of Pentacles, which can also be a very stubborn energy, thinking that they can just plod along and do whatever it is that they've always done and end up where they've always ended up. But in this case, I don't think that they realized that they were not going to be able to do that again. Five of Pentacles pointing towards some type of bankruptcy. It could mean a lack of judgment as well. And that's where the Hierophant comes in to try and judge in their stead, perhaps. Or this could be the energy that she had towards others. Like, I'm going to tell you how it's done now because I am perfectly capable of taking care of myself. Queen of Wands energy. I'm going to do what I want. And even though I don't quite currently see how this is different from other times, you're just going to allow me to do whatever it is that I want. Yeah, so far this has really given me a lot of stubbornness and bad decisions, leading to trouble with the Wheel of Fortune rotating there. Not a lot of good going on just yet. Let's see if we can get any more info with the Urban Tarot deck, or if we can get, like, more specifically. Oh. Right, we got a Seven of Pentacles. Now this is a very dark card, so hopefully you guys can see it, but it says at the bottom failure, and this is the Seven of Discs, they call that. Seven of Pentacles is normally like that woman standing next to or man next to a vine with produce hanging off of it, expecting good returns. But in this case, this card is really pointing towards that whatever it is that they thought they were going to get from this situation is not what they're going to ultimately harvest. And this is another Pentacle card, so we're having a lot of Pentacle energy here. A lot of mismanagement of resources. Could also be mental resources. Sometimes wisdom is a resource. Now she did have a good time, at least during some part of this, because we see here the Ten of Cups, which is called satiety. Now, this seems to point towards the fact that she definitely had a good time, and that may have really colored her judgment because it's a very colorful card as well. We also see here this small child in the corner here that looks very much like the same child that's also on the Sun card. I think that they are making an appearance here, and I think not that this has to be an LGBT reading, because obviously this is looking like a pride parade, but it's more pointing towards there just having been such a good time that they really didn't want to consider any type of negative possibilities that they could fail. That it seemed like such a distant option that they just didn't even consider that that could be the option for the outcome. So that was probably working against them. We have here the Six of Wands in reverse. Normally Six of Wands is, this card is called Victory, but so we already have failure here, so this is defeat. So whatever exuberant mood they were in, if you look at this card upright, they look like they're about to win a marathon or a race or something along those lines, probably a marathon. That energy was a false indicator of what was going to happen next, I believe. It really clouded her judgments. And then we have Strength again in reverse. This is the same card as we have back here, so it's once again pointing towards just having this lack of strength, lack of character to see the situation that they were really in and to really accurately predict what danger could lie ahead. Now, she was, I believe, inebriated, so that doesn't even seem that far off. We also have here the Hanged Man in reverse, which I always see as being unable to look from any other perspective, because normally the Hanged Man is about looking at things from a different angle, perhaps also seeing other people's sides, but also drawn towards all the money and stuff falling out of his pockets over there. Like, this is almost like a foolish thing happening. Like, no, I can do this. This is fine. I don't need to consider your ideas. I'm pretty sure everything's gonna be okay. Stop bothering me. I'm gonna be just fine. Now, there was reports, at least some of the people that called in seemed to suggest, even though they didn't quite say it with so many words, that there may have been more people around the car when they drove past it. So I do want to see if we can get any cards about potentially there being multiple people on the scene of the crash. So let's see what we can get about that. Because so far it's looking like, no, I'm perfectly capable of driving. I've driven for years. I've always driven when drunk. There's been no problem so far. I'm a very good driver, la la la. And then that didn't quite pan out, but was there somebody else at the car? We got two cards. This one came second, so we can grab this one first. This is the Ace of Wands, so in reverse, so that is a bad initiative. Again, we had the Ace of Pentacles back here initially, like, oh, this is a good idea, we're going to start doing this. Love that, but this is a bad suggestion for an action that did not quite pan out, or at least wouldn't pan out because it's in reverse. We have here death. Okay, that's like a bit on the nose, to be quite honest, but also just a change of a chapter, ending a chapter, things not panning out as they would expect, having to let something go. I think this is also, like, if this were from the perspective of another person who may have been in the car, I think this is almost like a death of a heir of their life. Like, they probably were, until that point, carefree and loving their life, having a great time, etc., etc., and then something like this happens, and all of that just goes along with it. And so that may have been a very big ending for them as well, aside from the obvious death that occurred at the scene of the crash, obviously. Let's see, what else can we get? We have here the Emperor in reverse. All right, that's an interesting card to pull. Emperor is normally somebody who is, just looking at that shield over there, that kind of seems to point towards law enforcement almost, because the Emperor is somebody who is normally in control, is normally somebody who would shield those lesser than them, so to speak. It's the father of the family, head of the household, that type of thing, that type of energy. The president, whoever it is at this, the CEO of a company, somebody who is top down trying to steer the ship and also keep everybody happy and healthy, so to speak, normally, but it's in reverse, and it's also like a rainy night, so this does seem to be somebody who is perhaps not wanting to do it, but in a sense just kind of looking the other way and to the detriment of people. So this almost seems like, if you look at these three and we're asking about another person, like somebody took an initiative that didn't go well, ended up very badly, and then the Emperor in reverse steps in. That's what it seems like, to fix that somehow, because there have been some rumors about how law enforcement were supposedly fixing things for other people. There may have been some people involved with law enforcement before as well, maybe related to them. I don't know that many details about the case, but I've heard something along those lines, so it could very well be somebody who is indeed related to law enforcement that may have been there. I don't know if they were in the car, but we'll see. Oh, we do see the chariot here. Somebody sitting on the car. That's also very interesting. Oop, just dropped it. And it went upside down. That's interesting, because I held it upright and it fell out of my hand, and now it's in reverse. So this almost seems like almost a reenactment of somebody thinking, oh hey, let's take a ride together, it'll be fun, and then that turned out quite sour. type of thing. So it's like somebody who made a decision to ride along because they are literally on top of the car, and that ended up very badly for them. And then it almost looked like this emperor came in to try and fix things, so to speak. So who it is, I don't know. Let's see what this card is right here. The Prince of Cups filmmaker. So that seems to point towards a male, I would think. Prince is normally like a male card. I believe this is a knight in this deck. Princes are knights, and the princesses are pages, I believe. It's slightly different. This is like a deck based on the Taubi deck from Aleister Crowley, so there aren't like the traditional kings, I believe, here, so they have to change that. But in any case, this is the Prince of Cups upright, and if you're looking at this person, you can kind of see that there's also another set of hands looking at them. So it could be, we're not even really looking at the person themselves, but this almost looks like the person knows somebody and they know about each other. They know that one person was in the car and the other person wasn't there perhaps, but knows that they were in that car. It almost seems to point towards a juvenile male. Princes often are that type of energy. So it may have been a male that was in the car. And since it's a cups card, it is somebody who is fairly emotional, I would say. Prince energy is not quite adult yet. It's almost there. It's kind of like an adolescent type of energy. It's the knight energy, which can still be very flighty. It's not quite that stabilized king energy yet. So it could be somebody who is somewhat emotionally, wouldn't necessarily say unstable, but not that mature. So that might be an indication of somebody that you knew or who may have been present that night. Maybe we can get one more card on this. Yeah, the last card we have here is a Queen of Swords in reverse. So this is somebody who is normally fairly forthright with their words, fairly sharp-minded as well, who may have perhaps helped this Prince of Cups deal with these things. Like the painter is a very imaginative, creative person. They could have come up with all sorts of reasons why this Prince of Cups wasn't there, or why it wasn't their fault, etc., etc. So this is somebody, I believe, who is shielding this Prince of Cups over here from any type of consequences. So far, it really feels like a really unfortunate accident, but it's not like she was necessarily alone, because we have this lower row here with the Emperor in reverse and the Chariots, followed by the Prince of Cups. That seems to point towards a second person having been there at some point at least. So who knows what happened, but it looks like she wasn't alone. I think somebody else probably left the scene shortly after it occurred. That is what I'm seeing for Jaleayah Davis. Hope you found that interesting. Make sure to leave a comment or a like. That really helps the channel along. In any case, make sure to stay healthy, stay safe. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in another video, and bye-bye for now.